It's happening. I'm finally making a Bones original book tag. Disclaimer, I did try to search to see if someone's done this before because I did not want to put in the effort of making the tag. I couldn't find it. So I made one, and I'm excited about it. I'm hoping some people do it or answer the questions because I think this could be a fun character recommendation video because a lot of the prompts are based off character traits because a lot of my love for Bones comes from the characters. So, I did my best. I don't make tags. I think ever. I don't know if I've ever made a tag video before. Done plenty of tags, not made them. And if you don't know, since starting this channel in 2020, I have rewatched Bones now twice. It is one of my favorite shows. And I don't like procedural shows. I don't get into CSI, NCIS, they're just not my thing. Bones is special because of the characters. Like, there's just something about the character dynamics that I'm obsessed with. So, we're going to get into this tag, and I'm trying to get comfortable because my foot has fallen asleep, but we're going to do it. The first one is paying homage to the diner. If you don't know, starting in season 2, it's like the meeting place. It's like classic in most shows like this. Like, you need a place to meet outside of work consistently, a place where people just organically bump into each other. It's incredibly cozy. So the prompt for this is, what's your favorite cozy series? This could be because you reread it all the time. It could be because it's so long and ongoing and you're just excited. And, like, spoiler alert, a lot of my favorites are going to be in this tag. And I had to go honestly with my heart, and this is the Cosmere / Stormlight archives. Because I have not reread anything more than those. I have been rereading Elantris since 2005. Like, what am I going to do? And then this year I've been rereading Stormlight, and it's been the coziest thing to me. They're so long, they're so indulgent, the pacing is wonky, but it's so familiar and comfy to me, and I love the characters. So, what are you going to do? So that's my answer for this one. For some of these I'll have more than one answer, but this one it was like, this is like the only answer. Like, this is the answer. This is what I consume over and over again and helps me when I'm having a rough time. Number 2 is going to be based off our titular character, Bones, Dr. Temperance Brendan. And this is name a character who is very rational, essentially, because that is her character trait in the show. She is very logical, very rational, almost to the point of being slightly caricaturish, but we love her. And I have picked one character from The Echo Wife, and that is Evelyn. She is a scientist whose husband steals her research to clone a version of herself that can be the perfect wife for him, which, terrifying within itself, but that's not even the psychological thriller part of that book. And one of the reasons I wanted to highlight Evelyn, A, I haven't talked about that book in a while, and B, the thing that I loved about reading that book was being in Evelyn's head. I really loved watching her make decisions and compromise and try to rationalize everything she was doing. I thought it was fantastic. And then my second one for this prompt is Dodger from Middle Game, because Middle Game is one of my favorite books ever. And Dodger is like the mathematical half of, I forget what the dogma is called. Like, it's just basically they're like the dogma of reality or something like that. And it's split into like a written half and a math half, and Dodger's the math half. Super rational and logical and rigid with math and things like that. I just love Dodger. I love Dodger. I don't love Evelyn. I just think Evelyn's fascinating. And then number 3 is based off our other character. That's our main character in Bones. That's Booth. Special Agent Seeley Booth. I didn't know till recently that some people do not like him. I love Seeley Booth. Like, quite a bit. And I think I saw him first in Bones, the actor, and then I saw him in Buffy and Angel, and, like, I think I've just always liked what he's in, and it's so funny. Like, there was a TikTok or something around recently that shows his personality in real life, and he is not, like, the straight characters he plays in these. Like, I mean, I don't mean straight by, like, sexual orientation. Like, he plays just, like, very rigid alpha male characters. And in real life, there was this TikTok of him with crystals that was just, like, I just didn't know he was like that. It was a silly thing to watch. It made me chuckle. But regardless, the prompt for this, as I get on tangents, is name a character who is like a white knight, who has to save the day. Like, there are just people who feel the need to save others even if they don't ask to be saved, right? And I have 2. One is Miles Verkosigan, because he does this a lot. He cannot resist trying to save the day. Now, I don't know if it's always as altruistic as Booth is, but I do think there's a good balance of he wants to save the day because he feels the need to help others, but also he wants to, like, feel good about himself. Like, there is that selfish aspect to doing the good deed. My other one is a throwback to a series I haven't talked about in a long time, but this is Davabad, City of Brass and On. This is Ollie. Ollie, I always say, is my bookworm warrior, and I love him, and he truly is so naive and, like, he just wants to save everybody all the time. It gets him into a lot of trouble. But I love him for that. Like, that's, like, something I really enjoy about his character, is, like, he always wants to do the right thing, no matter what, even if it gets him more in trouble. Like, that's Ollie for you. Number 3 is with a character named Angela. She is the artist, the free spirit, the person who's, like, pretends that she's not as smart as everyone around her, even though she patents the most wild technology throughout the show. But I wrote down, to be true to her personality, a book with a character who's a free spirit or very artistically oriented. So one I have is Ore from The Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, who is an artist. She sells her art in the streets. That's where you meet her. She has a really strong connection to her art, and I think that's really important throughout the book. But then I also have Katrina from Light from Uncommon Stars, one of my favorite standalone speculative books ever. She's a violinist who runs away from home because she's a trans girl who would not be accepted in her home. And she has such a love of classical and pop, like, game music that I really appreciate because, like, I mean, I've talked about it on the channel all the time. It's like, I don't necessarily think literary fiction and genre fiction are unequally important. They're both important to me. I think your pulpy books are just as artistically important as some lit fic that's won the Nobel Prize. And I think that was really encapsulated by that character, and I really loved watching her get to flourish in her art. That was, like, a big part of the book. The climax of the book is with, like, an artsy scene with playing music. It was so good. Next up is Hodgins, Jack Hodgins. Jack Hodgins, you know, man, like, he's a sneaky character. He's a character who you're just like, I'm not really gonna like you, and then I'm, like, obsessed with him. He's not, like, my favorite character, but I really love him. And I put for his prompt, a character that finds beauty where most people find slime, because he's the person who's, like, the bugs, guts, and slime guy. Like, he just, like, handles all of the non-body materials. And my first one for this is Sam from A House with Good Bones, because she legit studies old insects and talks about insects a lot, and that just, if I have a character that talks about insects and I have a prompt for Jack Hodgins, how do I not do that? So Sam's very funny. She has a very different personality from Hodgins, but that's my connection there. But one that I think is probably closer is Tetley from The Past is Red. So she lives on trash. And she loves where she lives, and she loves all the usefulness of the trash around her. And honestly, the number of times we've seen Hodgins in a dumpster, uncountable. So Tetley's probably a closer one. Also, something I love about Tetley is, like, she sees her world as being enough. She's not trying to compromise and try and get to the past that is already gone from them. And I just really appreciate that about her. So she definitely is seeing beauty where others see slime. Okay, Cam. Cam also showed up in season 2. Like most shows, season 2 is really where we start to hit our stride here. But this is a character that brings the team together, or is very organized, or both, because truly we did need, like, a focal point like Cam in the show. And I have 2. I have Vargo from Mask of Mirrors, and some might argue he's not the focal point. Like, he's not the thing that brings everything together, but I think he is. I think he's kind of the center of many webs. He is, like, the bridge between so many points. And so, yeah, and he's incredibly organized. Like, what he does between his gangs and the nobility and helping his friends and, like, like, he's balancing so many things. So he's, at least bare minimum, incredibly organized if you don't think he's a team organizer. And then I have Bhumika, who, like, come on. Her political brain is I have never read someone with as good of a political brain, except for maybe some characters in the Dandelion Dynasty. Maybe. But, like, truly, Bhumika, like, you'll be in her head, and she will be, like, calming herself in ways she's like, how are you so calm in this situation? I would have slapped that person. She's so good at figuring out what is necessary to get to what is needful and what she needs to have happen. It's not about being right. It's about getting what you want. So yeah, I love Bhumika so much. I wish Bhumika was more of a main character than a supporting character in the Burning Kingdoms trilogy, but it's okay. I still love her. Next up is maybe my favorite character in Bones, and this is Sweets. Gosh, I love Sweets. He's introduced season 3. So, you know, and I forgot he was introduced, like, kind of so late. But a favorite character that's introduced later or grows on you later in the series. So this works more for series than for a singular book. And I was trying not to double up too much, but this is my answer. Like, I saw it happen in real time for me. This is Adolin Colin. Like, when I first read Stormlight Archive, I read them as the books came out. Adolin was fine. I didn't dislike his point of views. I wasn't thinking about them much either. And then Oathbringer happens. And like, even in that moment, it wasn't like, oh, Adolin's a favorite character. But then one day someone asked me, not on the internet, just like in real life, who's your favorite character in the Stormlight Archive? And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how much stress all these characters are putting me through. And I was thinking about what happened with Adolin and his arc in Oathbringer, and how much I really liked it, and what it represented, and just like, liked him as a character. And then I realized, oh, Adolin's my favorite character. And that has only increased. Like, I love what he does in Rhythm of War. I love rereading his scenes now. Like, he is my favorite. And I think it works well with Sweets, because Sweets is not the main character of Bones, and Adolin is not the main character of Stormlight Archive at all. So, yeah. Now, I just wanted to add her because, like, I think she's underrepresented in the show, and this is Caroline. She is the plucky lawyer who always is getting them warrants and who always steps in. She's so sarcastic and sassy. She is a gem whenever she's on the screen. And so this is, for me, funniest supporting character. And I put down a few for this. One is from Elantris. This is Galadin. He's got this dry sense of humor that, like, they're in the middle of a decrepit city in bodies that won't heal. And Ro is being so optimistic, and he's like, we're gonna do it. And, like, the pairing of a rodent doing all of that with this really depressed guy was so funny. Like, he wasn't actually depressed, but he was just very like, okay, I'll help, but like, this is so dumb. So I thought he was hysterical. For Mascameers, we got Mr. Peabody, who, like, I'm just gonna call him Mr. Peabody. I don't want to like go too much into it, but he's got a very sassy commentary that I really enjoy. And then one that, like, I was remembering saying, oh, this is actually probably the closest to Caroline. And this is Mare Dorna. Now, you probably don't know who Mare Dorna is. This is a character that's mostly in the name of all things in Chorus of Dragons. She is the companion to Janelle. She's like a mother figure. And she is so funny. Like, she doesn't say a lot, but when she says something, I'm just like, what? So I think that's probably the best actual true one-to-one match. Anyways, I love Chorus of Dragons, which is probably going to come up again in just a minute. Just give it a second. But Interns, around season 4, we get a lot of rotating supporting cast. So we have like 5 to 10 interns, and then it became a fun thing where like you'd have like guest stars showing up, like, Betty White was on there, a couple times. So this is a book with more than 7 point of views. And I have 2 for this. One is A Chorus of Dragons, especially because, and I think this, again, it's a good parallel to Bones. Bones didn't start doing that huge cast till later on, like season 4. Book 4 of Chorus of Dragons, we are an ensemble cast. Like, oh boy. And it's actually thematically for books 4 and 5 about how a team accomplishes a goal and less about an individual or chosen one. So it's thematically very important. My other one is the Dandelion Dynasty, which, does anyone even know how many point of views we have in that series? There are so many. But I just wanted to shout about the Dandelion Dynasties because it's like an amazing, well thought out epic fantasy or epic science fiction. I don't know how you want to call it. It's epic. It's very unique. I have a should you read where I am more eloquent about it if you were curious about this and our tastes align at all. So yeah. Number 10 is Big Bad. So this is your favorite villain. And the reason I put this here, and this is something Bones as a show did intentionally, is like they really tried to make sure there wasn't too much interpersonal drama outside of the will they, won't they romances that exist. And whenever they needed tension, they would just introduce like a serial killer or something like that. So a big bad is always important for this series. And for me, I'm putting the entire Indian Lake trilogy. And the reason I am putting this is because when I was reading that trilogy, something that was a momentum driver for me was not knowing quite exactly what was happening. And that's normally not the case for me. Like, normally villains are not a momentum driving force for me, but especially in, say, like, Don't Fear the Reaper, I thought I knew what was happening, but I was not 100% sure, and so I would just keep trying to figure out what's going on. And I just think that keeping me on the edge of my seat and quality was just, like, so good. And also, how it ended up working out, who the big bads are, I thought was really satisfying. And then my last question for this tag are love stories. Your favorite will they, won't they love story, because that is, they wait a long time to let our couple get together. And there's a lot of other ships too. I think they do a really good job with the interpersonal friendships, platonically speaking. Like, one of my favorite platonic relationships is in Bones. Like, let's not even talk about the love story. Like, oh my god. But this is specifically for love stories, and my main one for this, and like I was even comparing this book to Bones when I first reviewed it, is The Best of All Possible Worlds by Karen Lord. Like, this actually feels like a season of TV in a book, where every chapter is episodic. They're traveling to a place to do a thing. We have our team of characters doing stuff, and two members of the team obviously have feelings for each other. And their chemistry, even while they're ignoring those feelings, is just palpable. So yeah, I had to have them on this list. I also have, some comps for it. The Mimicking of Known Successes, it's actually a very similar style, where you have two people that investigate stuff together, and they're slightly different personality types, and it is a second chance, so that's like very parallel to Bones and this trope in general. And then I have the Burning Kingdoms trilogy, because, especially right now, I don't know the status of this relationship, and I need to understand it. It's so good. The pining, the sacrifice, the tragedy of it all. I need to know. I need to. So yeah, that's my Bones original tag. Please, if you do it, tag me so I can go watch it, because I would love to see what books have such strong characters you want to put them on this tag. Because if you didn't notice, a lot of these are my favorites because my favorites just have characters that stick with me. And I think that's something that's been missing from my reading the past couple years, so this is also my cry for help. For recommendations. So yeah, and if you don't want to leave your responses down below, leave a bone emoji. I think that's the obvious one. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.